Hi students of English 414, this is Dr. Adams and I am creating a series of short videos to help walk you through the syllabus for our course. I find that the syllabus contains a lot of information. I expect you to read it carefully because it is our contract and our agreement. You as a student, me as the instructor, about what the course is about, my expectations for you, etc., etc. And so please read it carefully, but just as if we were in a face-to-face class, I think it can be helpful for me to sort of guide you through. So I'm doing that in these videos. Other introduction to the class comes in other places in this week's folder. There's a module that gives you some general information about some of the things that we're going to be doing this semester in greater detail. And we have a voice thread that will allow us to introduce ourselves to one another. But here I'm just really focusing on the course schedule. Excuse me, the course syllabus. Okay, so we're in English 414 Research Writing. This is a fully online class. All of you are coming from different places in the university and you're at different levels. Although most, and it should be that all of you are kind of in your advanced undergraduate degree. We have, I think, a couple graduate students in the class. So this is a course that is focused on research writing, understanding what that is, how to do it, and how to do it well. My name is, again, Dr. Adams. We're in a fully online class. It makes a lot of sense for this course because you are working this semester we're using sort of the same guiding materials, but you're really spending a large portion of the semester working on your own individual project, depending on what your interests are, a project related to your interests. So we just don't need as much classroom time because you're doing so much independent work that all comes together through our sort of shared understanding of and learning about what research writing is. So even though we don't meet in a class, I am available to you. I try to be an engaged instructor. We are going to be you're frequently working in the Blackboard space. So it's going to feel, the pace of the semester is going to feel similar to a face-to-face class because things will be coming up on a week-to-week basis. But nevertheless, here are some ways to contact me. My email address, my office phone number. I created a button in Blackboard that allows you to post a question that everyone will see. So it's kind of the equivalent of raising your hand. You can come to my office hours if you're able and you would like. I would actually enjoy that. The last time I taught this class, the students who were able to come to my office hours or connect with me over the phone, I think got a lot more out of the class because we had some opportunities to talk through their projects carefully, in more depth. So you'll see my office hours here, and yeah, I remain available to you. So here is our description of the course. The whole point is for you to understand the expectations and sort of the methods for producing high quality research at the upper division undergraduate level, which kind of folds right into sort of new graduate students for those of you in the class who are at that stage. So it's kind of doing both at the same time. The whole point of the course, I think the easiest way to think about what this course is supposed to do is to think about when you're an undergraduate student taking classes, you are often asked to do research or produce writing for your classes, and 9 times out of 10, your professor is giving you a prompt based on what they think that you should care about, what they think you should know, what they think you should research, and what the theme of the class has been, etc. So most of the time as a college student, we get lots of experience writing, even if we're asked to kind of do a research component of that writing, but we're really working within the confines of what someone else defines as important or interesting or valuable, right? So the biggest thing that this course is helping you do, the big shift that it's helping you make, is when you are a researcher in whatever capacity, as an undergraduate researcher, as a graduate student researcher, as a professional researcher in industry, or certainly as a professional researcher in academia, for example, you have to ask research questions that are of interest and important to you or whatever your work is. You're not part of a class. No one's going to give you a prompt that says, here's what I want you to do. As for me, as someone who's a professor and a researcher, I have to come up with my own research agenda. I have to figure out what I'm interested in, and then I do my research. So that's a big jump. It's a pretty big leap going from doing what someone else wants you to do to conducting research, because you're asking your own research question. And what happens in that process is not only the sort of parameter of the research changes, the reason you're doing the research changes, but the whole process also usually shifts and at least deepens. And that's really overwhelming. A lot of people who go to graduate school never take a class like this, and they kind of have to just figure it out as they go. So the point of the class is to help you understand that research is not just using sources or is not just conducting an experiment in a lab, but research and research writing is about conducting inquiry, being systematic about finding answers, and then effectively communicating that to a specific audience, whatever audience you have in mind. And that's the goal of the course. That's a lot, and that's why it's a whole semester-long course, to make that shift. And I scaffold it. I help you understand it step by step. So you're thinking about research, I would assume, for most of you, would shift a bit by the end of the course, and I think it'll certainly become more robust by the end of the semester. The way that we go about this is you revise a paper, and the module in this first week of the course that you'll see in Blackboard, kind of goes through step by step. Well, what former paper or what former project should I choose? So I'll let you read that there. But I want to give you one word of advice. Students hear, every semester, students hear, oh, revise a paper, and they think that means copy editing. That means, changing out a few words, adding a few commas, something along those lines. That's the very last part of the research writing process. So when I say that you're revising a project, 9 times out of 10 students, they have a seed of a project that they found interesting. There was a class that they took and they thought, oh, that was kind of neat. I wouldn't mind doing more work with that. And that's where they start, but the final product looks almost entirely, if not entirely, different than where they started. And that's not to overwhelm you, but I like to really emphasize to students that revision is not maybe revision in the way you might be thinking of it right now. And it's important for me to say that, because I want to be honest with you and I want you to anticipate what's coming. And then in the middle of the semester, when you're in that process where things are changing, I'll talk about this again, because it might feel like I'm doing something wrong. I'm moving in a different direction and I'm not sure where I'm going. And that's actually correct. That's good research, because you're letting the research allow you to learn and ask questions based on what you're finding. Okay, so that's the overview of the course. We have one textbook. It's inexpensive, it's accessible, it's easy to read. I'll give you some more materials to read through our Blackboard shell, not an incredible amount, but some supplemental pieces. But that Craft of Research book, it's small and it's easy to read, but it is a wealth of information. So you'll be obviously doing a lot of your own research and probably using the UAA library portal in order to do that. So you will be spending your reading time much more sort of reading things related to your own research project this semester, rather than a lot of texts that I provide you. You can see the prerequisites here. I'll be doing some quick double checking to make sure everyone's met the prereq requirements. It's important that you have, unless you've talked to me about that ahead of time. We do have a long wait list for this course, so if you're not positioned to be allowed to be in the course, then you're going to want to take yourself out and open up a seat for someone else and then come back when you're ready. Okay, here we have information about the fact that we're an online course. The biggest thing here is that I set up the course so that we have weekly chunks of information. So there will be weekly folders with everything you need to work on for that week, all in one folder. Okay. There are going to be very, very few times where I ask you to be online at a particular time because you're going to be talking with me and potentially some other students. We only do that a couple times a semester, and I always do it in small groups so we can find times that work around everyone's busy schedules. So mostly your timing of this course is going to be entirely up to you. However, there are two big exceptions or kind of caveats to that. First of all, this is absolutely not the type of course where you can just kind of binge work and do multiple weeks worth of work, all at once. I'm expecting you to keep up on a weekly schedule. If you don't do that, your grade is going to suffer for it. It's not a self-paced course. So check in on a weekly basis, keep up with the weekly schedule, and plan to pace yourself. That way it's a mandatory part of the course. The other thing is I've taught this course a few times now. I love teaching this course. I have a lot of fun working with students, but I always find that there are at least a couple students in the course who have signed up because they're trying to graduate. They have an absolutely full schedule of classes, mostly upper division classes often, and they're doing this course because they think it's the one that they can do at 3 o'clock in the morning when they log into Blackboard once a week. That is not going to work with this course. The course is not, it will keep you busy. And I know that the nice flexibility of an online course is that you schedule when you're going to check in and work, but I know that there are students who try to do things all in one chunk, maybe like the day or two before it's due. I try to give you a heads up a little bit on when a particular project for next week is going to take a little bit more time. I do some scheduling to allow you extra time for larger projects, but the amount of time that you need to put in is not always going to fit into one chunk of time, especially if that's right before things are due, in the middle of the night before they're due. So keep that in mind. It might run counter to your experiences with other online classes. So you can go from there and plan your time accordingly. I'll ask you to read through these course objectives, the student learning outcomes. I've worked hard to make sure that these course and student learning outcomes are what the course is guiding you toward. So they're not some inconsequential sort of piece of documentation. They really are. They give you a map for where we're going. So please take a look at those. Finally, in this clip, I will just finish up by talking about some of the technical requirements. You can see here that they're pretty standard. You'll be doing a lot of work online, so make sure wherever you're accessing the internet, you have a good, solid connection. You'll need to do audio posts, and you'll have some experience getting started with that this week. So you need to have access to a computer with a built-in microphone or some sort of microphone on the hardware. The digital composition studio that's in the English department is a place where if you need to go for a quiet place to do audio recordings on a computer that has a microphone, that's an option for you, and you can let me know if you need more information about that. Certainly there are options for the library, but I just encourage you, whether you're making a recording or you're meeting with me and other peers for a little chat session, which I'll announce later in the semester, make sure you're in a place where you have a solid connection, where you can speak in a normal speaking voice and not whisper, where you're not going to bother other people, and where you have not only a good connection, but you're on something other than a smartphone. You just need to make sure you're connecting. You can't always connect to a video sharing system on a smartphone and do it well. So those are some of the technical things you need to keep in mind. We'll pick up from here in the next video.